You won't find them on a map, but the margins are places where people who are marked off and marked down live their lives. Though practically invisible to many, these places and those living in them are critical to God's plan of redemption. Let's just take a minute to unpack this. The margins are places defined and bounded by difference. Margins happen when a center, people having the power to do so, makes an issue of a certain form of difference, not valuing it as diversity, but making it a problem, as something that turns us into us and them. We often marginalize the forms of difference that most acutely remind us of our own mortality, weakness, or unworthiness. Why are strangers strange? Because they're not us. In our normal state, we see ourselves as the picture of normal. A normal Christian, indeed a normal person, basically reflects the things that we see and value or most desire in ourselves. This process creates a boundary, whether it's noticed or not, which is easy to patrol. Are you enough like us to be one of us? Then you're in. Are you sufficiently unlike us to be not one of us? Then you're at the margin. The label of marginalized is often enforced by stereotyping, the use of constructed images that obscure the human realities that actually unite us all. The margins are places where people are marked off and marked down. When people are marked off as qualitatively other, they are typically marked down in that we assign less value to them. They become worth less, if not worthless, to us, normal folks. What's that like? While every life and context is unique, there's a standard package that comes with living with marginalization. Lack of opportunity, lack of options. I'm in undesirable circumstances with others making all the decisions. Lack of dignity. I have things to contribute, but I can't. Lack of security. Everything I do have or earn can be and is taken from me by someone more powerful. Lack of community. I'm invisible. No one sees me. No one speaks up for me. Lack of access. So much of the world around me is off limits just because of who I am. Discrimination. I am not even known, but I'm not wanted. Victimization. I have no choice but to take it. I have no rights. Justice just doesn't make sense here. Lack of hope. So many of us live and die here, and it just doesn't matter. The margins are millions of Roma, disabled, the alien, elderly poor, all largely unreached. Who actually gets marginalized in our world today? Because our roots are in Europe, let's get concrete about the margins of Europe. Roma, there are 10 to 13 million of them. People living with disability, 80 million. Elderly poor, 13 million. People living with HIV/AIDS, 2 to 3 million. Victims of human trafficking, street kids, many refugees and asylum seekers, millions of each of them. But let's remember that what makes all these people unique is not because they're disabled or Roma or HIV positive, but because they're oppressed. Something else that's part of being on the margins, the vast majority of these millions of people and the communities in which they live remain unreached and unengaged by the gospel. The Church of Jesus Christ is simply not accessible to them, even if they are Christian. In Europe alone, we're talking about perhaps 100 million people, all left out of the normal world and typically normal churches. The margins are pivotal in God's plan. Margins can be a creative core for mission, church revitalization. Ministry or mission is often undertaken from a position of strength and resources, which makes it easy to fall into process of marginalization. When that happens, we might find ourselves insulated from the presence of Christ that's manifested uniquely at the margins. Marginal ministry begins from the perspective that in the one true church, there is no center other than Christ. Experiencing Jesus on the move in the margins brings us to clearer, truer pictures of God. It can mobilize the church to innovation, to mission, to transformation, to inclusion. And it can grow and inspire the church to deeper, more authentic community and worship, to see and love God and the things and the people He made and loves, to hate sin and the effects of the curse, and to want to join in His work in the world. Reducing marginalization creates access to the gospel of Jesus and to the church it calls into being, which then enables the church to reflect more of God's design for carrying out His redemptive kingdom mission.